Hello YouTube family, James Green, short series Shenanigans. So on today's episode of Sunday Shenanigans, we are working on a 1911. Had a friend of mine wanted some sights replaced on his slide, and the back dovetail on the sights that we got is a little bit larger. So I know I haven't showed any dovetail cutting on anything, especially on Bridget here. So I already set up, kind of got a basic scratch pass done and a little bit, and I thought, okay, well, let me do some video because, you know, in case you guys are interested and you want to cut a dovetail in or make it bigger, depending on whatever, you know, firearm or any item for that matter, you want to do a dovetail cut. So we'll go ahead and move the camera over here and we'll get started, and I'll tell you what I have in place. Now, I've been trying to work with making sure I have a good light balance between what shows up on camera and what I see is two different things, and I'm working on that. And also know that you can hear the fan and the air conditioner running in the background. My microphone on my camera makes things sound louder than they actually are. Trust me. So when I fire up my phase converter, it's not loud. But anyway, I want to let everybody know. So it shouldn't be real super loud, but I'm going to zoom you guys in here. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and fire up the phase converter from American Rotary. I'm loving my ADX series rotary phase converter, and it's on. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to move my handle out of the way here. Go ahead and zoom you guys in here so you can get a view of the action at hand. Whoop. Now, trying to do this without bouncing you around a lot, but I want you guys to be able to see what's going on. Okay, so we've made a few passes just to kind of see where we're going. This was originally a 3/8 dovetail, okay, and we're actually going to be removing material off the front side, okay. The new dovetail dimension is going to be 482 thousandths. Okay. So we're going to sneak up on it. And we've already made a couple passes. We'll go ahead and keep going. And I'll just leave that there for reference. Alright. And we're using some dark cutting oil here, because it's a high alloy steel. Now the setup, what I've done is I've set up on some parallels in here, and it's flat, and I just tighten the vise down. So this is a working handgun. This isn't like a collector's item, and so we're fine. We're not scratching anything. And I'm not a fan of using aluminum or plastic jaws when milling on a slide. There's too much give or things sliding around. Steel on steel, again, we're not clamping hard enough to crush anything. I've done this many times, especially even in my little mini mill, and so I'm comfortable with what I've got here in the setup. So we'll go ahead and get started, and we're running at 1115 RPM. And we're just going to feed through here, make sure we're still okay. Feeding about 10 thousandths at a time, and then when I do this, I'm just hand feeding. I'm doing traditional milling, not climb milling. Come back. Feed another 10. Got quite a ways to go still. Feeding up 10. This dark cutting oil is the same type of cutting oil you can get at the hardware store, used for threading a gas pipe. Stuff works great. Another tube here, we'll take a measurement. just to make sure. Alright. Check ourselves just because we gotta sneak up on this. Little rag here. Back you guys out a little bit. Okay. Come up here and see where we're at. It's like right down here in the bottom. And we need to be up here 482, 483. So 30 thousandths. We'll sneak up on it very, very carefully. Found that doing it 10 thousandths at a time and making several passes, you decrease your chance of busting your cutter. There's another 10. Actually, blow it out and check it real quick. Alright, let's see where we're at. We should be right about there, getting close. Like it 480, make sure. $484, $485, that should fit. We give it another little blast in there real quick, just to make sure. Clean it out. Go ahead and deburr that real quick while it's in the vise. Grab our smooth mill. Very gently. So it doesn't catch. Just so that little burr doesn't mess us up. We'll give another blast of air. Now our sight should just go right in. With resistance, obviously. Actually, this way. This is actually designed, let's see here. On some of these, they're a bit wedge-shaped at times. I've run across. Let's see here. This one is 482. Yeah, 472 to 482. So it's designed to slide this way. It'll be nice and tight. Are 480, 25. So just a matter of going to be doing some hand fitting here and driving it in, and we are on the same angle. It's just going to be a little tight. Matter of fact, I'm going to make one more little pass, take just a couple of thou out of here. Right there. We're going to come over here. Try to clean up his back. Go ahead and shut our phase converter off, just because. Now that should get us pretty much where we need to be. And it's just a lot of hand fitting and stuff like that, because here's the rear sight that was on it, okay, and it was just a you know, adjustable, nothing fancy, hard to see at night. And so we've already put the front one on. And here's the back one. It lights up green. It actually shows up pretty good, you know, if you're looking for being able to get some low light conditions. So this, and then we'll just go ahead and we'll get it in our other vise, and we go to do the work and get it pressed in and all that good stuff. So there you go. There's that neat little tidbit. A little bit of working with the doing a dovetail cut. The cutter that we have is actually, so if you guys are curious, I've had this one for a while. This is actually a MA4. I actually got this one at Brownell several years ago. It's a 60 degree 359 by 359 thou carbide. The tool number, and I'll hold it up here so you guys can get a look at if you guys are curious as to what tool I'm using. Let the camera focus. There you go. You can freeze frame. Okay. Now you can get dovetail cutters pretty much anywhere. Like I said, I got this several years ago and I've used it a lot. It's been really well. What I have learned is if you guys have a mini mill and you want to do your own gunsmithing, put your own dovetail cuts and slides or something like this, because of the cutter, I'll go ahead and pull it out because I know I'm done with it. So that way you guys can make sure I'm done here. One thing I like to do to make sure in a case like this, so you don't bump things accidentally, is I turn the power off to my power slide, my power feed, power slide. There you go. Just because it can happen really easily. And we just use a 3/8 R8, call it. This is a 4 flute. Let me go ahead and blow it off. It doesn't take much to run one of these, but I have cut many a slide with these. As you can see, it's a 4 flute. Okay, real small. And you can, if you are not careful, you can break that. Okay, what I have learned, even in, you guys saw my mini mill way back earlier in my channel, I've done a lot of slides, I don't know how many, using these little cutters. What I have learned, when you're doing your initial, like let's say there isn't a dovetail and you're going to put one in, this is that OTA dark cutting oil. You can get it pretty much any hardware store where you want a thread pipe, get the dark. It works really well. I don't know exactly what type of alloy, you know, these are. I've done stainless slides, I've done the metal ones. done all sorts of them. These little carbide, and you can get them pretty much anywhere. I know this happens to be MA Ford, but and depending on the sight that you're putting on, it can be a different degree angle, so you need to watch. Most of the time 60 degrees is pretty common, but there are variants out there. If you're going to do a lot of, like, let's say ones that are really wide like this, then you can get one that there's a myriad of them out there. But let's say if you want to invest in one and the pocketbook's tight, because these, and I forget how much this cost. We know dovetail cutters are not cheap. I'm guessing off the top of my head this might be a $40 or $50 tool. I don't know. I haven't, because I bought several of these several years ago. I haven't purchased any recently. You can go online into your favorite tool, you know, where you like to buy stuff at, and find out. But if you, this happens to be a 3/8 or just under actually, and you can use it for the wider ones. You just have to make sure you're taking real small cuts. I will say this, on your first cut going through, if there's not a dovetail, slow and steady wins the race. Make sure your table is locked as far as side to side and everything, and the only thing you're feeding in is front to back, you know, either way, whichever way you want to do it. On the initial cut, I like to feed the slide in this way so that I can see what's going on. So as I'm feeding the table in, I can see, and I can keep, you know, get you a squirt can of oil. Oil is your friend on that initial cut. And the after ones, what I do is, you noticed after each one, what I did, and this is just purely a me thing, and it may help you, because I didn't clean it, you know, or if you have flood coolant, that's a good thing. If you guys have a flood coolant setup, that works well too. I could have done that, but you wouldn't have been able to see anything. But the dark cutting oil, you know, with the Spillmaster can, works great, you know. And clean it on. So your subsequent pass is when you need to make the slot a little bigger. Just go in there and blow it out. Remove your chips so they're not getting back in the way. Chip evacuation is very critical, because it can take just a little bit. There might be a, I've broken them before, and I attributed it to I didn't get the chips out, or it might have just been a bad cutter. I don't know. So at that point I decided, okay, to make sure it's just blow the chips out every little pass, you know, when you're done, just because. And these do not like climb milling, they like conventional milling, just because how they're set up. If you climb, doing your initial cut, it's scary. Yes, they will break on your initial cut. That's why you go slow and steady wins the race. And doing the initial cut, you're like, oh, you don't know. So I suggest if you go buy some of these, buy at least 2 to start off with. So if you break one, you're not, oh man, I have to wait another week to get one. So, you know, they're out there. Don't buy used ones. Don't buy used ones. It's like buying used end mills. I'm like, why, people? You know, it's, unless you just really want to spend a lot of time sharpening throwaway items, that's just, you know. But anyway, so yeah, don't buy used dovetail cutters. Unless you've seen the guy use it like once and then he says, yeah, I don't need it, you want it? Then probably that would be okay. But still, buy new ones. Plan on breaking a couple in the learning process. That's just a given. I don't know how many I've cut with this. I've cut quite a few and it's done well. Again, it's carbide, and it's made by, even though it says Brownells on it, it was actually made by MA Ford for Brownell. So, but you can actually get these dimensions, you know, you can actually get the tooling cheaper other places, unless you're just bent on spending stuff just at Brownells, which is fine. You know, I support them, you know, I love their aprons. But so there you go. Hopefully that's been helpful. I want to show you guys some basic gunsmithing stuff today, and we'll go ahead and actually we'll pull it out, the setup. Well, I'm done with this. Go ahead and put it back in there. And see, I didn't have that very tight. That wasn't really, you just, it doesn't take much. This will all get cleaned up and wiped off. So yeah, nothing messed up on it. We weren't sliding it around. There's no damage to anything. There's just oil on here, which is fine. We'll clean it all up. So there's the cut. so you guys can see. Real nice. I made sure that we cleaned up the bottom. Real nice angle. And here's that side of it. So we just made it a little bigger. So there you go. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this and it's been beneficial. You know me, I like to always show new and unique stuff, and I do quite a bit of these. So just know that this is actually made by Novak, this site. And in case a lot of you don't know this, and I'll show you while on camera. So if you do this, because even though you're cutting your, you could, if you wanted to set your vise up just a degree off, so you're actually cutting the taper, which is fine. You don't want to cut the taper into the dovetail. The reason is, so as it goes in, this goes in, it wedges in, and then there's actually a set screw that you tighten down right there, and it comes out the bottom and it'll hold it in place. So typically, what I call the left and right is if I'm looking at the gun, okay, and I'm gonna reverse it. So you guys are looking at the sight to be able to use. So it would be the left side is typically going to be narrower than the right. Typically, when you have the gun, and this is how I always think of it to keep it right in my brain. I'm sliding it, I'm gonna install it, and I'm actually moving the gun left to right to install. So when you guys go to drive this off, if you go to drive it from right to left, it's gonna wedge and swage out. Typically, they did this, so when you go to drive it off, just remember, as you're holding the weapon, whether it's, you're changing the front sight on a .22 rifle that's broke, from the position you're holding the gun, if you're right-handed, again, or left-handed, doesn't matter, but the position of the firearm being held, regardless whether you're left or right-handed, you drive the sight off from left to right and drive it on from right to left because of how it's wedged, and I'll show you that. So I'll try to show you this on camera so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Make sure I'm zeroed here. Okay, so I'll try to get it over here where you guys can, I don't wash you guys out. So you can see the left side, which is here. Actually, let me do it this way so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And I will set the camera. Whoop. Gotta enjoy that, sorry. Okay, so the left side, and I'll try not to bump the camera. Okay, pick it up here. Okay, we'll get right at the left. I need a production crew. So the left side is approximately 480 thou. Whoop, hold on. I'm holding it crooked. Sorry guys. Okay. 466 ish. Okay. Now, as I slide it toward, it gets larger. And let me hold it to where it's larger. We're approximately 481, 481, 482. It is a little bit of a wedge if you were to hold a straight edge up to it, which it's hard to do because this thing isn't square. So there's 482. Okay, it slipped on me. I'm trying to, you guys. I really am. So 482. So there's that much of a taper, and it's actually on the bottom here where it is. So when you slide it in, it creates a hold. So I hope this has been helpful to you guys. Sorry about the camera movements and stuff. I wanted this to be, educational, so that's why. So there you go. This has been a basic down and dirty how to mill a, here we go, how to mill a dovetail in a 1911 slide. Again, there's everybody thinks you got to buy these fancy fixtures to hold this and that and the other. And again, depending on what you're trying to cut the dovetail in, your setup in your mill is going to vary. Me, I'm a fan of, now I do use soft jaws when I'm working on other materials at times, depending on, but I've had good luck with, and I have used at times, and I don't, well, actually I do have a piece. You can get, if you want to help make sure you're protected, I don't know what they call this stuff, I've got a bunch of it. It's almost like the stuff you get in toolbox liners at times to put down. You can get the stuff at Walmart, like for drawer liners. It's not, you know, that's similar to what it is. It's just a real, and it crushes and protects. I use that a lot to wrap around firearms, and I'll double it like this, and in the slide, and it will put a cushion in, especially if you have a finish you don't want to booger up. This stuff is awesome. Go to Walmart. You can see the expanded type stuff that's got holes in it, or this stuff, you can buy it cheaper. You can get the toolbox liner stuff, and that's what it is at Harbor Freight if you want to cut some up, but typically I can find it cheaper at Walmart, and I use this stuff all the time. Works great, especially if you have a finish you don't want to mar up or scratch. This is the only thing I found that works great for that. It won't mess the finish up, and it will crush enough that it pads everything and still allows your clamping pressure to be adequate, so things don't move around in the vise, whether it's your vise you're working on or your mill vise or anything. So I hope that's been handy. James Green, Short Series Shenanigans, and heading to the summer bash, you guys. Looking forward to seeing everybody out there. And so there you go. We're going to be heading out there on Wednesday. Gonna be driving out. I'll see everybody out there. I've been seeing lots of stuff on social media so far. Link description down at the bottom. If you guys, I don't know if there's any slots still available, get a hold to Stan, hit him up on Facebook, and he's out there. Shoot him an email. Barzy Summer Bash, I believe the email is. I'll put it down on the bottom so you guys have it. I don't remember it right off the top of my head. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. EagleDustOff37@gmail.com if you guys have any questions. Follow me on Instagram at EagleDustOff37. Same thing at Twitter, at EagleDustOff37. And I'll post pictures of this stuff. You guys that follow me, you get a preview before this video comes out on YouTube. So there you go. Thanks again. I got a lot of neat stuff coming up before and after the bash, and we're going to have lots of bash footage out there. So great, exciting time. Looking forward to it. Remember, take care of yourself and take care of family, because remember, at the end of the day, you and your family is all you got. Until next time, take care of yourself. And what do you say, Chad? He didn't want to say anything. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.